This is Delhi. Please stand by for our next program. This is All India Radio. In the national program of talks tonight, on the eve of World Braille Day, we bring you a panel discussion entitled Let Sight Not Hinder Inclusion. The participants are Dikshita Gupta of Umoya Sports Foundation, Dr. A.K. Singh, well-known vitreo-retina surgeon, Arjun Mishra of National Association for the Blind Employment and Training, and Amit Arora, media personality who initiates and moderates the discussion.
Hello and welcome to the program. Wish you a very happy New Year 2023. 4th of January is observed as World Braille Day to honor the birth of Louis Braille, who invented the Braille system of reading and writing for the visually impaired. On the national program of talks tonight, we focus on the topic Let Not Sight Hinder Inclusion. My name is Amit Arora, and joining me here in the New Delhi studios of All India Radio are three distinguished guests. Please welcome Dikshita Gupta, Sports Educator, Umoya Sports Foundation. Welcome.
Hello.
We have with us Dr. A.K. Singh, vitreo-retina surgeon.
Hello and very happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you. And also Arjun Mishra, founder NABET, which is the National Association for the Blind Employment and Training. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Pleasure is ours. Dikshita, let me begin by asking you, share some success stories where students with visual impairment participated in sports.
I'll start with the latest one. So there were competition in Guwahati, National Para Swimming Competition. There were our two visually impaired students had won gold and 2 silvers. And also the last year we have won in India World Cup blind cricket team. There were also our 2 students won. And let's talk about always blind ones. Let's also talk about the who are locomotors. They can won swimming competition, just imagine.
Right. So absolutely delightful to know the success stories of person with disabilities. Dr. Saab, what a proud moment it was when in December 2022, our men's cricket team won the World Cup.
Yes, 2 consecutive years they have won the World Cup. Is a proud moment for the India.
Yes.
And many congratulations to them.
So even as we wish Happy New Year to each other, Arjun, let's reflect on the year gone by. Yeah. Share with us the progress made in terms of work opportunities for persons with visual impairment.
Thank you, Amit. So specifically about these were, as you would be aware, the last 2 were the COVID years, and there was these shock waves which was across the disability sector, especially around the persons with disabilities and their employment. Happy to share that COVID fortunately opened many opportunities for employment across sectors. The IT sector was the most forthcoming. We had opportunities coming in from leading organizations and other companies which welcomed our talent pool. And I'm happy to share their success has been so resounding that we are now inviting more companies also to join the bandwagon and provide more opportunities, not just for the people with visual impairment, specifically for them, but also for other categories of disabled.
Well, it's heartening to know that there have been inclusion measures for a person with disability and also for visual impairment. But what are the areas where we can prevent blindness in first place itself, Dr. Saab?
In medicine, it is a prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
So you have to prevent anything like in COVID, we are preventing the COVID by just putting up the mask and not going to the public places. In the same way, the prevention of the blindness can be done at the earliest stage of the pregnancy. In the first trimester, if you will not take any medicine like Combiflam or some medicine for the pain and all, so these disability, visual disability and other disability can be prevented there. If you want to take the medicine, you have to take by the suggestion of the doctors only.
So you're saying that during pregnancy, particularly the first trimester, it's not as if we can take medicines on our own. Strict no.
No. A strict no, zero tolerance.
And that could lead to blindness if somebody takes
yes.
medicine?
It can be lead to premature delivery where the blindness occurs. Baby borns 1500 grams only, 1.5 kg borns, premature. The both high is having a prematurity and then can be taken care by laser only. If they are delayed by 15 days, the person is blind forever.
Right. Certainly we have to be more aware on this topic. So in terms of inclusion, how do you see the culture of inclusion in sports so far?
When we talk about inclusion, it's itself is a meaning like together.
Yes.
And when in inclusion in sports, it's just meaning that play together.
Yes.
So we have also a program. So we usually include like the person with VI, like visually impaired, the HI, hearing impaired or ID, like intellectual disorders, they all can play together. For example, if you are playing with a ball, then we can use sound balls, light balls, or another balls, and the neurotypical also can play the basketball. If we have a student who has not that particular fine motor skills,
Okay.
then they can play with sensory balls. So this is how we include all the children together and play together, so that they can build friendships and build empathy towards each other.
And how do you see the role of Braille? How does it empower the visually impaired? Is it easy to understand, learn Braille?
Amit, I've had a lot of exposure and I do understand a little bit of Braille myself. But the world has progressed a lot over the years, Amit. People have now moved over from Braille and, digital consuming of data has become at the forefront now. So I don't say Braille is not relevant. Of course, it will remain so. But the digital consumption of data is taking an upswing, especially amongst persons with visual impairment also. And I think that opens a very important point about how much accessible is the digital content and what can be done in that direction.
Okay. And Dr. Saab, you made us aware about how we can prevent congenital blindness by saying no to medicines ourselves and only consulting doctors. But would you agree that much of blindness or visual impairment happens because of injury?
Injury takes part, but commonly it is a one eye situation. Injury can't have a both eye unless there is a bomb blast
Okay.
where the both eyes suffered. But normally it is a one-eyed situation. One eye is suffered because of the injury. So I advise parents not to give them shotgun and the bow and arrow so that the injury can happen. And also I advise the drivers to take glasses, preventive glasses, shatterproof glasses during driving so that you can save your eyes.
Okay. And Arjun, in your experience, your interaction, do people go for early screening if they have any eyesight issues?
Actually, what happens is the awareness around that, Amit, is quite limited. And if we talk about beyond the tier 1 cities, I think a lot of blindness issues can be prevented. And as we were speaking before, the start of that happens if we can have screening sessions across government schools so that we can have early detection of such cases. I think that's a lot can be done in that direction, and that's where the attention should be towards.
Right. Yes, Dr. Saab.
He is very rightly said that yes, screening should be must. It should be compulsory in the schools because the lazy eye can be treated below 10 years. Once the child crosses the 10 years, that lazy eye can be treated.
Dr. A.K. Singh, help the listeners of All India Radio understand what is a lazy eye.
Lazy eye means the person, like you do the plaster. Suppose in orthopedic you do the plaster. You remove the plaster, that arms or leg becomes lazy. You have to do physiotherapy, right?
Okay.
So the person who have a number, particularly the plus or minus number, myopic or hypermetropic, if the number is not given, that eye is not seeing. Okay?
Yes.
So if you at the age of 5 years, you give the proper glasses of number
Okay.
and close the other eye
Okay.
and do the physiotherapy rather than seeing with a lazy eye, that eye can be recovered up to 6/6, 100%.
Okay.
But once the person crosses the 10, child crosses the age of 10 years, that vision can't be retrieved.
Right. So one can go to an ophthalmologist for that, or we
Yes.
have to go to eye surgeon?
No, it's simple ophthalmologist is enough.
Okay.
Everybody doing, anybody, any part of the world, even optometrists can do it.
Okay.
But you have to screen in the school at the age of 5 years that yes, this person need glasses. If the
Right.
person not able to read, please refer to the doctor immediately.
Right.
And simple treatment can retrieve his whole life.
Right.
And he can be fit for any organization, right? Air Force and anything. But once the lazy eye becomes settled after 10 years, he is out of the Air Force, Navy, and it all major jobs.
Okay. Let me ask about some of the preconceived notions that the society has. Dikshita, if somebody is visually impaired, sometimes in society it's easy to say sports is not meant for you. Then how do these students with visual impairment reach out to you? How do you empower them, support them, train them?
Let's start with the training so that you can get the idea of it. Okay, when we talk about visually impaired students, then it's eventually led to the braille thing or the tactile thing or the thing with the sounds. That's so true, by the way. But also, when we use the verbal cues and the instructions that are much more beneficial than that. So now let's talk about the training. So what we prefer is very small techniques like hand holding, like instructions in verbal cues, like positioning cues in the playing area, provide them some braille techniques so that they can get the dimension of it.
Okay.
Also the rules and regulation in braille techniques. Also braille usually helps us in the time consuming during the training hours. I'll tell you how. What we do is we translate the rules and regulation in the braille so that they can learn at home
Okay.
or wherever they live. So this is how we can save time in our training hours, because our training hours like so precious. Like we can't go for do anything what you want. You have to train, you have to warm up, from warm up to the cool down. Very precise time we have.
Right.
So this is how it really helps us in time consuming thing.
So that means any listener who is tuned to the program, if you have interest in sports, notwithstanding that you may be visually impaired, there could be specific training for you, and you can play cricket, you can go swimming. What other sports?
You can also play football. Also another sports for especially visually impaired is goal ball.
Which is like football only?
Goal ball is like you have to goal, and another one is has to stop that.
Okay.
Very a smaller version of bowling plus football.
Okay. Doctor?
I'm telling about the one sensory gone, like the eye vision, you are talking about the driver of the vision. Other sensory organs is increased by the 10 times.
And it's scientifically proven.
Scientifically proven. Suppose the eye is gone, the hearing and touch increase to 10 times. That's why they can do better in their respective field.
If that is given, that they have talent and they can do better in some of the other things, then why is there a preconceived notion, say among the corporates, businesses, that if I hire a visually impaired person, maybe that person won't be as productive as somebody who's considered normal by the society?
So, Amit, we attack that preconceived notion with our results, which we produce from the people who we hire. And Dr. Saab rightly pointed out, it's the productivity which we deliver working for the companies who we have been working with, a host of companies across domains, from host of other companies who we have partnered with. I'm proud to say that once they are attuned to working with us, and when the results which we translate, they have themselves confessed that the productivity which a person with disability delivers is equal, if not better, has actually, increased their revenues and their results. And they're not only proud of the fact that they don't see them as a sympathetic offering, partnering with us, but they see it as a value proposition. And that is something which we take a lot of pride and skin from, and we want to continue on that journey.
So that is what NABET does. You demonstrate the talent of the visually impaired so that their work opportunities increases.
Absolutely. So if you come down to our premises, we demonstrate on live sessions how these people are working for a host of leading corporates. The companies can themselves walk in and see how these people are working on efficiently and also on very complex processes. And once they demonstrate, it's that phase when they go back and discuss internally that, if they can drive value for other companies, then why can't we make our organization more diverse and more inclusive? And I think the ripple factor becomes easier and more convincing if we can demonstrate on ground versus speaking theoretically.
Yes.
And that's where I think NABET differentiates.
Right. Dr. Singh, when we talk about preventing blindness, you guided us on the congenital blindness, how we can tackle lazy eye, prevent injury. Cataract is something that we hear a lot.
Actually, most of the blindness is due to cataract.
Okay.
And 70% of the cases of the total blindness is because of the cataract. And it takes 5 to 7 minutes to operate
Okay.
one cataract. The only thing is the patient has go to the hospital, because once you do the cataract, now the minimal invasive surgery is there.
Okay.
You can operate the cataract in 1.7 millimeter of the incision.
Okay.
So now the surgery has to be done quickly in the district hospital. For that, I suggest that one eye surgeon should be placed in all districts and a good eye hospital has to be made.
Okay.
So that the blindness can be eradicated from the India.
So if in India we've got about 766 districts, you're saying it is not sufficient to have just an ophthalmologist in every district. We have to have eye surgeon.
Eye surgeon.
Okay.
Eye surgeon, not only ophthalmologist.
Okay.
But proudly speaking, all ophthalmologists are supposed to have a cataract surgeon.
Okay.
Primarily, all ophthalmologists.
But an eye surgeon would certainly be of great help.
Of course.
But
it's
you were
better.
mentioning even in eye surgery, there are 17 different disciplines.
Yes. If you are coming up, the cataract, the glaucoma, the squint, the tumor, the retina, the oncology, then there is a pediatric surgeon, pediatrics ophthalmologist, then there are neuro-ophthalmologists. These are all different branches.
And since you are the vitreo-retina specialist, help us understand what's the function of retina, and when we say that somebody's retina has got detached, can it be attached back again for sight?
Very easily.
Okay.
Very easily. Don't fear. Once there is a retinal detachment, that can be fixed. That can be fixed very easily, either by the gas, buckling, or the vitreous surgery. There are the three options we have, so that can be easily fixed. But the only thing is you should detect early and fix it early. Almost all vision, 100% vision can be retrieved by retinal. So don't be fear about retinal detachment.
Okay.
It can be fixed.
Well, that's very, very heartening to know. In your interactions with people who suffer vision ailments, what has been the causes?
Some of them are like by birth, some of them by the accident. Very main, other are very rare to listen.
Okay. So I think that the early checkups that we had talked about,
Yeah.
Arjun, is that an area where we probably could beef up more?
Absolutely. I am a very strong endorser of the fact that early screening and early detection is where we have the answers for.
Yes.
Correction, and this of course becomes more time consuming, and also, truth be told, our infrastructure, while it's good that suggested, doctors are suggested, but I'm not sure if a country of the size of ours can afford having the infrastructure across districts to have that complex surgeries done. So what I suggest is, let's have early screenings so that we can identify the cases before and then perhaps guide them to the right hospitals which are already there. Of course, it is heartening if we can have a center across the country, across the 760 odd districts which we have. But being more realistic, I would propose the first solution.
Okay. And have you seen businesses saying that we need greater diversity in workforce? How would you advise organizations to structure their employment opportunities to include the visually impaired?
First thing, I would want to speak from a point of data-driven rather than more persuasive approach that I can promise you better productivity by the resources which we have. We ensure that the skills training is so matched to what is required on ground that eventually the time which would require them to absorb into their organization would be very limited. Added factor, of course, is the low attrition which this workforce faces. So the amount of investment in terms of time and resources which you spend in preparing a resource is considerably reduced, and the initial investment is paid back multiple times with the dedication which the resource brings to you. Your diversity and inclusion should not be seen from a sympathetic point of view. See it from a value proposition, and there's lots to be gained out of this.
Yes, Doctor.
What I am saying is, now is a digital world. Now the idea is that they can type on the screen by vocal.
Okay.
So these visual handicapped persons can be very useful. They can type anything on the screen, they can deliver, they can print it, everything. Digital world is for them only.
So you're saying technology is a force multiplier, and we can use technology. What was not possible, say, till a decade back is very much possible now when we are in 2023.
Absolutely.
Do you use technology to train them for sports?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So according to you, what benefits sports bring? Do you think it really adds to their self-belief? Would you encourage persons with disability to reach out to people like you and play sports, engage in work opportunities, come out, so that first of all, they help themselves?
Absolutely, Amit. So the biggest impediment is the lack of self-belief amongst the persons, generally speaking, across the disabilities. It's nothing to do with specifically with the visually impaired. Even before company would trust an individual, that person first has to believe in his own capabilities, that he can drive value for the partnering company. And let's be honest, it's a very competitive world that we live in today. So it has to start from a point that this person, XYZ, has to put his hands up and say that, you know what, I can deliver value for you. And why don't you give us an opportunity? That opportunity would be extended only then.
So are they raising hand?
Fortunately, organizations like NABET is being their voice, and happy to say we have tasted a lot of success across the journey of the last 13 years. So it's, again, I do not say that it's the end of the road. There's a lot more which needs to be done. We are now trying to, work towards opportunities of, manufacturing of certain products beyond just services, which we've been offering. So we started with the program along manufacturing of sanitary napkins, as I was mentioning to you, and we have persons who are, it's called a program called Vimla, wherein we are manufacturing sanitary napkins and getting this done by persons with disabilities across various job roles in that specific sector. So there's a lot of programs which we are doing and which are creating opportunities for employment, and hopefully that should be able to be scaled and replicated across the country.
Yeah. Dikshita?
I want to ask a question. Is that true that visually impaired persons are introvert?
To some extent, yes, Dikshita. So that's a challenge which we face, and that's where I think sports drills a lot of it, initiates that need for being vocal, the need for the importance of teamwork, and also to voice out their opinion to or against the point. Often, what happens is people remain in a cocoon. They prefer being alone, and getting them to participate in team activities where sports becomes an important bridge to that. And I think that's the very important aspect which you're attending to.
So whether it is IT, usually till 2022, the year gone by, we feel that person with disability or visually impaired would get opportunities in the services sector. You are saying now we are witnessing a paradigm shift that even manufacturing could offer them opportunities.
Yes, and this is not a standalone project that I'm speaking about. It's the manufacturing of sanitary napkins, which NABET has initiated.
Yes.
But I'm aware of many more roles of, assembling and manufacturing, which have been extended to persons with disabilities.
Okay.
And truth be told, the scalability and the number of people that can be absorbed in manufacturing is multifold as compared to services.
Okay.
And I see a very bright future in that space.
Okay.
Services, in spite of all the risk averseness which comes with the service sector,
Yes.
eventually in a country of our size and the number of people with disability that we have housed, manufacturing has to stand up and be counted in significant numbers if we have to have some impact amongst the people who are employed amongst the disabled.
Okay. You're with us on All India Radio, and today we're discussing on the topic, let not sight hinder inclusion. Dikshita, if we have to include everyone, we also have to reach out to rural areas. What's your message to listeners today joining us from rural areas of India? How can they connect with sports? Why should person with disability, particularly the visually impaired, play sports?
Sports is just not for the urban, sports is for all. We are here for talking about visually impaired, or whether it is a hearing impaired or any other disability. They can play sports at home now. It's not just limited to the space or equipments or anything. We can play the basic sports even at home.
Okay. And eye care and prevention of blindness, how we send the message to rural areas?
In rural area, fortunately, doctors are there. All primary health centers, at least 4-5 doctors are there. So my request to the rural areas people are, please visit. If you have any visual problem, please visit to the doctor. Don't feel shy to stay home. Go to the doctor, they will help you, and they can refer you to a proper doctor for surgery or a medicine.
And just like we are aware of blood pressure and we measure it, Dr. Saab, we also have a eye pressure.
Yes, Amit, you have asked very nice question. This is called glaucoma.
Okay.
And glaucoma is a silent killer. You don't know you have a glaucoma. Ultimately, one day you feel that your vision is become tubular, only seeing through the tube, and you are not knowing. And that vision can't be retrieved. So after the age of 40 years, it's better to be, your eye pressure should be checked at least once in a year. Okay. If it is beyond 20, you should be careful.
So what's the acceptable eye
10
pressure?
to 20, 10 to 20 millimeter of mercury. And it's a very simple machine with puff of air comes to your eyes and takes the reading. It takes 1 second to come. Above 20 is a question mark. Above 30, definitely he is suffering.
But what could be the reason for increased eye pressure?
That is not proven, because a lot of research is going on. But there is a hope that yes, a lot of medicines are there which can prevent only by medicine. There is no need for surgery nowadays. So like the BP, blood pressure, you are taking tablet.
Yes.
Your BP is maintained.
Yes.
The same way, just put eye drops, your eye pressure comes normal. So you can have a normal life.
So help us with some statistics in India. How many people would be visually impaired and how many of them you feel have work opportunity? What's the gulf like?
It's huge. So Amit, talking about the count in numbers, they would be at least 70 million, that's 7 crore people suffering with visual impairment.
So which means sight of one eye problem or maybe fully blind?
It could be a combination. It could also be the case of color blindness.
7 crore.
That's 7 crore. Of course, it can be a higher number too. Added to that, if we talk about opportunities for employment, presently less than 20% find opportunities, and there's excessive dependence on government sector alone. So it's the private sector which now has to step up the game. I think initiatives like what we are doing perhaps is playing the bridge between bringing more people on board and creating opportunities for employment. We have had significant success in the space of services, and I see manufacturing as the next area which we want to play towards.
What about entrepreneurship?
Of course, and especially so in the rural parts of the country. There are certain programs which can help with easy financing for them to start enterprises. But the biggest problem with an entrepreneurial venture is how do we prevent them from ending up in the death valley? And I define death valley as not having enough traction within that much time which they can survive, beyond which it becomes unviable for them to continue business.
Yes, but they are contemplating startup ideas.
Of course they are, but then the solution to that is that we need to incubate them. We need to help them, handhold them for the initial few years before which they can survive and thrive on their own and prevent them from landing up in the death valley. Yeah.
And like Arjun mentioned, crores of people visually impaired.
1.99%.
You are saying, Dr. Saab, much of it is preventable?
Absolutely. That all can be prevented except cataract and glaucoma.
So cataract will come on the other side of 60 to everyone.
It's Almost.
Okay.
Almost.
Okay.
Depending upon 5% to 100%. But cataract is inevitable. You can't stop it.
And if we have a good eye surgeon in every district, it's a matter of 5-10 minutes, you'll be okay.
Absolutely. One eye is operated in 5 to 10 minutes.
So we have to take care of our eyes from our childhood, congenital,
right from
lazy-
right of conceiving.
Okay.
Right from the conceiving to the childhood, after the age of 40, and wearing a good glasses, correct glasses.
And tell us more about retina. Retina sometimes looks like a mystery. What are the research areas?
See, in retina, the most common blindness is retinitis pigmentosa. Is a disease which affect the retina, and exact the cause is unknown. But normally it is a gene oriented. So I suggest that if you marry, don't marry to close ones.
So don't marry near and dear ones.
Yes, because this disease can precipitate very quickly 3:1 ratio. 3% will have retinitis pigmentosa, one will have a normal. But if you have a distance marriage, then the chances this disease will quickly die. And this retinitis pigmentosa, the problem is you cannot detect in the childhood. It precipitate after the age of 20, maybe 15, but there is no treatment. So preventive is, again, go to the distance marriage.
Okay, not in the family.
Not in the family.
So, Dr. Saab, say for example, somebody loses one eye because of retinal detachment.
Yeah.
Can it have impact on the other eye?
No. If anything happens in one eye, except the congenital one, it doesn't affect the other eye. The control in the brain is separate. For the right eye, the left lobe of the brain, occipital brain is controlling. For the left, the right occipital lobe is controlling. Okay. So God has made such a good structure.
Yes. We probably have to do more in terms of awareness and taking care of ourselves.
Yes. I request all the listeners, just preventing is much easier. Much easier.
Yes.
You can prevent this disease.
Okay. Yes, New Year. What could happen, Dikshita?
So New Year, next 4-5 years, we are trying to build our capacity.
Yes.
Like we are now in Delhi NCR, Bangalore.
Yes.
Now in also MP. So
Yes.
we are trying to reach as much as states we can.
Yes.
Right now we have many schools, but I request everyone to play sports not just for building your achievements. It's just for fitness or a healthy life being.
Right.
Like our holistic development is much more can be cleared by sports.
Okay.
Whether you are playing with equipments or without equipment.
So, can't resist asking you, Arjun, with all the technology and increased screen time, do you think that also has to be reduced?
Of course, it's a contributor towards loss of vision, and we all are equally culprit to it.
Yes.
With the addiction that we have to our different devices. But then, isn't it a necessary evil? So I don't know where the balance stands.
Yes.
But then eventually, I think balance is where the answer also lies.
And in terms of our daily eye care tips, just washing with the water, does that help?
Yes, definitely. By coming from the office, you always wash your eyes with a clean water, so that all the pollens or the dust should be washed off.
Yes.
And take multivitamins.
Take multivitamins.
Yes.
And any age group?
I suggest everybody should take multivitamins, irrespective of the age and the caste and the sex. You should 10 tablets in a month. Multivitamins. That will help you a lot in every part of the body, including the eye. You will be sound.
And finally, a quick word on Louis Braille. It's been more than 200 years that the Braille system was developed. We salute the inventor that he lost his eyes but gave to humanity the gift of Braille. Dr. Saab, a quick word on Louis Braille, the inventor.
His hats off to him.
Yes.
And see the 200 years he has invented, still persisting.
Yes.
And there is no second.
Yes.
So I salute him, and this is a great help to visually handicapped people.
Yes.
Great help.
Absolutely. So on the eve of his birthday, we brought this talk to you that was titled Let Sight Not Hinder Inclusion. And like our guest says, that person with disabilities do bring value proposition. And as a society, we should look at this value rather than looking at them from sympathy perspective. And to help us understand this topic, to all our guests, Dikshita Gupta, Arjun Mishra, Dr. A.K. Singh, thank you so much for joining us on All India Radio. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you much.
Bye.
In the national program of talks, you were listening to the panel discussion entitled Let Sight Not Hinder Inclusion on the eve of World Braille Day. The participants were Dikshita Gupta of Umoya Sports Foundation, Dr. A.K. Singh, well-known vitreo-retina surgeon, Arjun Mishra of National Association for the Blind Employment and Training, and Amit Arora, media personality, who initiated and moderated the discussion. Produced and presented by Naveen K. Gupta of All India Radio Delhi, this program came to you from the Delhi station of All India Radio.